All right, everybody, and this is Shepard here with a 2, if not 3, if not more part guide to the dual blades in Monster Hunter Rise. A lot of work is going into this. This weapon is deep. Deep as hell. I used to tease dual blades back when I played Monster Hunter World. They said, you just demon dance or you're done. That was not the case. I was wrong then. And I didn't even dare to make that joke in this game because holy crap. There is a lot going on here. A lot goes into even testing the weapon. And we're going to get into some basic math very soon. Just to kind of give like the core rules on how we're getting these numbers and how we can use those numbers that we get in training to kind of help extrapolate other weapons. You know, we're going to end up making the best of the best weapons by math anyways, but we'll be able to use this to kind of go forwards and backwards and saying like, well, according to the math, this is what this weapon should hit forward. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's get through some ground rules, some of my methodology. So you need to know is there's a number of different components that go into calculating this status raw here. So the first thing that may confuse you is, Shepard, I have 80 raw on my weapon. Why does it say 100 in my card? It's because when you're in the training area, it immediately maxes out your pedal ace. So whatever pedal ace you have, be it 20, or if you're trying to test something different, 10, you will end up getting a different status value. So that's important to know. Another important thing to know, so we're getting 20 from here, is if we were to add in our power charm and our power talisman, that is a combined total of another 15 from that. That shows up right on top of anything else that we would have in our attack. And then you might have feline booster, which would add 9. But as it is, we've got 80 raw here. We've got 20 raw from this guy. Combined, that gives us 100. We're using just the normal demon mode. Now, I'm going to do two different types of combos. The two different types of combos I'm going to do are very similar. The first one is 6-fold strike, which hits for about a combined total of 92. It's 11, then 14, then 7, then 8, then 8, then 7, then 7, then 15, then 15. You should see that now. See that? It's an okay combo. However, if you're actually in a fight, you sometimes don't have time to get off that final 6-fold demon slash. Sometimes the thing runs out of the way by the time you land those last 2 hits. So in my testing, we're going to do Demon Fang into 2-fold demon slash, and then sometimes I'm just going to drop the final 2 15s just when comparing elemental dual blades, but I'll show that on screen. Next thing we have to notice is our sharpness. So this is yellow. If we were to go green, we get an extra 5% multiplier. Okay, so now we have a status value of 110. We've got green sharpness, this is 1.05. And so we should hit for a combined total of 105. That's not as impressive when it's up on screen, is it? Well, I did it twice in a row. Don't worry about it. Okay, next thing to go over is the differences between our normal demon mode, which is our normal, get into it quick, move around quick, get out of it quick, demon mode. We now have the option to use feral demon mode. Now, feral demon mode's a little bit different. You get a little combo when you enter it. You move a little bit slower. You attack whenever you dodge. But maybe most importantly is on top of all of those things, it actually boosts our weapon's raw, which is normally 100 here, by 20%. So remember, we have a Petal Ace that is giving us 10 attack right here. So we go from that 110 to 20% of the 100 to 130. Which means we should do 126 damage in this configuration. Okay. So we've got, again, if you're trying to replicate these results, you have to keep in mind Charm Talisman, Booster, Feral Modifier, Petal Ace. All those things will impact how much damage you'll be doing. I should probably mention this guy's head takes 100% of all the damage you do and 30% of all elemental damage you do. All right, so when we're going through the weapon tree and we're trying to look for viable weapons, one thing that it's nice to do is go in with at least Handicraft 2, if not sometimes Handicraft 3, just to take a look at what the maximum possible sharpness may be. So obviously, we're going to see a lot of this guy. Looking at Nargacuga doesn't do much for us because it already maxes out at white sharpness. Also take a look at what sort of rampage skills may be possible. Obviously, Nargacuga gets attack boost 8. Another one you might look at is the Diablos ones. They get pretty high raw here at 250. They do get blue, but, you know, already looking at it, you know, it's got negative affinity. It's got barely any blue. It's got no slots. This seems like it'd be difficult to make work, but we can still do the math on it anyways. Maldo could be interesting. I'm not sure if you really need attack boost because it does, or a handicraft because it doesn't give us white sharpness. It does have attack boost and pretty decent slots though. Last but not least, if we're also looking at raw, we can say, oh wow, Raging Claws get white. You know, they've got 190 raw. I wonder if there's anything else nice under these weapons. And it's like, oh yeah, Hellion mode. Attacking in demon mode turns every attack into a critical hit, but also doubles sharpness degradation. I wonder if there's anything we can do to make it so that sharpness degradation doesn't matter. We'll get into that in a bit. Okay, so as usual, Nargacuga weapons remain sort of the standard for dual blades, in that when we're calculating damage against whatever it is we're fighting, those seem to be like good, if not great, if not the best choice. And these weapons don't really change that at all. You know, come with 198 raw with a bunch of white sharpness, 40% affinity, and a level 2 slot. It means we're able to max out attack, crit boost, weakness exploit, speed sharpening, a bunch of points for just whatever other level 1 skill that you want, and everything else. So before we show the status screen, we're going to go over, I'm just going to go in detail. We've got 198 raw. I have 15 points from my Charm and Talisman, 9 from the booster. If I'm in a Feral Modifier, I'm going to get an additional 40 raw. The attack boost actually gets calculated on... Oops, I cheated a little. It's okay. Attack boost gets calculated on top of everything else. So it's 10% including the Feral Modifier, and then 10 gets added on afterwards. So when I'm in Feral mode, we should see a total raw of 295. It's a lot of math, but my assumption is that not necessarily, again, Might Seeds and Demon Drugs, sometimes people take it, sometimes people don't. If you do take it, know that as we're going through the math in the series, your raw might be better. It will be better. So, especially in builds that we're hitting with full crit boost, understand that you might be getting a little bit more extra damage in that regard. But with that in mind, if we know that we have 1.32 modifier for our sharpness, that we're critting 95% of the time, because either it's at 90% or it's at 100% with latent power, depending if it's up, along with 140% damage boosted from every crit. Assuming we're hitting a hit zone that is about 60% weak, we should be getting an average raw of about 322, which means that our normal 6-fold combo would be 297. If we miss those last 2 hits, our condensed 6-fold would be 201. And those 2 combos there, either almost the entire 6-fold combo or the entire 6-fold combo, but without taking out those last 2 hits, those are going to be what we're comparing basically every other element to. With that in mind, we can go ahead and take a look at the Maldo dual blades and Diablos dual blades. Assuming Maldo dual blades are going to be staying in blue sharpness with a similar amount of attack boost, we would get a total 6-fold combo of only 245. Now, mind you, this is not taking into consideration blast. The blast may add up a little bit over the course of the run, so a blast does about 120 damage. The issue is that this is going to continue to fall off more and more as the fight goes on. So unless you're fighting something incredibly blast weak, it is very likely that the Maldo dual blades are just not going to be able to keep up with Nargacuga, at least in terms of raw damage. I could spend a lot of time going to the Diablos dual blades, but unfortunately they look like chicken wings. They do end up getting a really high raw value, so we can get these up to 394 raw, assuming that we're going to be using Bludgeoner and having full attack boost. Raw modifier in that is only going to be an extra 5% from green sharpness. I'm assuming we're critting about 40% of the time with weakness exploit. In my scenario, I kept the Rajang pants on. I could probably get more damage out if I switched on to the ingot. Ultimately, I don't think it's going to matter though. Total 6-fold damage is 261, which is still about 36 damage lower than our normal Nargacuga. Now, a really neat set, and this is amazing because I almost spontaneously created almost the exact same thing that somebody else had on Reddit. In the process of making my video, is those Raging Claws. So these do get white sharpness with handicraft. I'm using the Sinister Gauntlets because I want to leave the chest on, because the special ability is that while we're in demon mode, every attack turns into a critical hit. But then also our sharpness gets degraded. So what we build for then is we put enough handicraft on to get to the white sharpness. We put on protective polish. So in my case, I'm lucky enough, I've got a protective polish to level 2 slot, level 1 slot charm here. Along with Death Stench, this actually gives us 90 seconds of protective polish, which is, that's enough. That's enough so that feels okay. And especially because of the flow for this weapon anyways, you know, you have to occasionally take a break to recover your stamina anyways. So say you're comboing, you're dodging, dodging. You know, if you're taking a break over here, you could sharpen. By the time you're done sharpening, your stamina is recovered anyways. You're ready to get back into the fight again. So it has some interesting advantages. Obviously, it's got a little bit of paralysis here. You'll see that come up at least once, if not sometimes twice in a hunt, which isn't bad. It's extra damage. You crit everywhere. So whereas Nargacuga dual blades have to be hitting a weak spot in order to crit, these will always crit. So that's interesting. In terms of sharpness use, you'll probably end up finding that you end up sharpening less with these dual blades than you do with Nargacuga. Obviously, they both have quick, speed sharpen 3, but with 90 seconds of uninterrupted sharpening, you'll probably only find yourself sharpening twice. Your first sharpen will probably be on your dog anyways. So that's not bad either. Downsides, of course, when you're not in Hellion mode, you're looking at anywhere between -10 and 0% affinity. So suddenly your damage goes from being boosted by 40% to dropping by that 40%, if not going even lower into negative crits. So that sucks. And then when protective polish goes away, this sharpness is gone like instantly. So you got to get back out and sharpen. Okay, so seeing as this video is probably going to end up hitting 20 minutes anyways, I think we're going to stop with just the raw dual blades here. We'll get into the actual elements, at least a couple of them in the next video. And I think we'll start by showcasing, which I would argue is the most raw, weak monster in the game, Mizu. It's got 63% weakness to cutting on the head and only 10% thunder. So while we'll still probably try and compare the different thunder options to Mizu when we get to the thunder section, I think it's a relatively safe bet to say that this could be a decent fight to try and showcase that raw duels still are okay. You know, they definitely benefit the most from element, and we'll go into detail into that obviously in parts 2 and probably part 3 and maybe part 4. And I thought it might be fun to show off the Hellion dual blades as well. We can try and see how many paralyzes we get off. But something to note is the piercing bind wire bug skill is actually an enormous damage boost to raw dual blades, and is really something that you kind of need to manage a lot. In fact, in a lot of ways, even though it may seem easy or casual to build just for raw dual blades at the beginning, in a lot of ways it kind of forces you to play the weapon at its highest level. Not only do you need to be constantly landing those piercing binds on a regular basis, but then you also probably have to stay in feral demon mode more often. So you don't even really have as much of a choice of going for the normal demon mode, even if you wanted to, because the raw boost is just so significant. Kind of a neat thing. Like, I kind of like it when there's trade-offs like that, right? And so in this case, you've got, you know, what would be definitely a harder play style in order to make full benefit of raw, versus if you want to go element, you know, if you want to put the extra time in making elemental dual blades, you can go for maybe a more casual setup. So you don't have to worry about staying in demon mode so often, or maybe you don't even need to really worry necessarily about landing your piercing binds. So kind of neat there. I kind of wish that was always like the trade-off. Like, if you wanted the highest raw damage possible, you're also going to need the higher skill cap. Looking at you, Sword and Shield. Although, who knows? Once we get to the Sword and Shield and we do a breakdown for that sort of compendium, maybe we'll find out that actually Drill Slash is really good or something. I don't know. If I have the stamina, sometimes I like dodging into the piercing bind. I'm having a hard time seeing the head right here. I know it's in front of me. I know it's close. I'm kind of hitting it. Look, I said I'd do the math in the compendium. I didn't say I'd be the world's best dual blades player. Oh, this isn't necessarily bad. It's a little bad. It's a little bad. I keep going in and out of demonized mode because I can't quite tell if my stamina is sticking down. The Dave guy? What was his name? Guy that also made this build decided he wanted to put Marathon Runner in his. I don't really feel like it's necessary. Between needing to sharpen periodically and just how slow it feels like your stamina goes down anyways while you're in Demonized, doesn't seem like it's really necessary for the damage uptime. Obviously, you could always drop whatever you want in order to fit that. If you want less attack and you just want that instead, it's okay. I'd done some major poison testing in the previous video, and while I responded it to in the comments, I think I just mentioned it here just as like a very tiny addendum. Poison does continue to apply to a monster even while they're poisoned, up to their cap. Now, you'll still need to wait for it to wear off, and you'll still need to apply poison again in order to actually inflict it. You can't, like, chain series queue up poisons, but you can get them right up to their top level. Another nice thing is if you weren't using those piercing binds and you're going elemental dual blades, that means you have basically all of your wire bug charges just ready for counters all the time. Kind of amazing. It will be refreshing when we do the elemental dual blade style. I might actually practice or change around the damage formula a little bit in my analysis just to see how much damage you are really losing on elemental dual blades. It might be okay. You may not be missing that much, especially on something like the Almudron dual blades. It could be all right. So is that 2 paralyzes already? That's wild. So definitely the standing 6-fold strike and then resetting by doing like an angular attack during big downs like that is fine. if you have a wire bug up and you want to do a piercing bind and then into either a demon dance, or if somehow if you want to try and get an archdemon dance technically does slightly better raw damage. So that was under 5 minutes. This was just a one and done. You know, with practice, I'm sure that could be under 4 minutes. Maybe under 3, I don't know. Probably not by me, and certainly not in this video. But let me know. I am planning on releasing these sheets at the end of the series. The Shep sheets will be yours. Let me know in the comments below what element you want to see next. We are going to be going through all of them. And I am planning to leave Dragon last. So let me know, other than Dragon, which one you want to see. If you have any questions, clarification, if you like the video, if you hated the video, let me know down in the comments below. Check me out, twitch.tv/SDShepherd. I stream there basically every day. The best way to support the channel is literally just watching me there. All right. I love you. I'll see you soon. Have a good day. Goodbye.